Yes, Notre Dame, Ohio State set for 7:30 kickoff on that opening weekend, September 3rd. ABC and also College Game Day shows up. Guys, I have to admit it. I've admitted it for years and stated it here. College Game Day is the standard. It's an amazing show, all those things. I don't understand why people care where College Game Day is going, unless you're on campus and you want College Game Day to come so you can show up and take part in this. But people thousands and thousands of miles away, they really care where College Game Day is going to show up.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it's a good advertisement for your school. They generally do a couple of extra features on the home school, maybe an extra feature on the road school for that. You certainly get to see some scenics. I'm not going to say this as somebody who used to work for Fox and never worked for ESPN. I think Big Noon Kickoff has better substance to it, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. But yeah, people lose their mind. I mean, they lose their mind over all this stuff. I mean, kind of running parallel with this, with some of the game times being out, there's a petition going around the University of Texas right now to petition moving that 11 a.m. kickoff to a night game, because that's exactly how this works. Your petition that has 500 signatures, 500, that's probably going to get it done. You know what? If I could do that, I'm going to start a petition to get the end game uncanceled on NBC, because they finished it on a cliffhanger, and now I'll never know what's going to happen.
Oh, poor Kevin. What you need to do is you need to be from like a parents organization. You write one letter to a network, and then they change everything and make things happy and calmer for you, and then you get what you want. You got to complain a little bit. And I don't know that 500 people signing a petition is going to do much for that game. I am also looking forward to that one for sure. I know it's going to be warm, but it's going to be warmer in the afternoon in that game than it will be early around kickoff. It gets hotter as it goes in Texas. And the thing that I kind of find puzzling is that people, if it was a night game, they would be out at noon drinking and getting ready for the game anyway. So they'll be outside regardless. I think people are missing the boat a little bit on post-game tailgating instead of just it can only be done before the game. And yeah, it's really early when you have to tailgate for a noon game. But then you're back at the tailgate by 4 in the afternoon. You've got the entire afternoon, evening, and early morning to continue to do whatever you want right at that tailgate spot. And so I don't think you have to get everything done by 11 in the morning. All right, you don't. I promise you there's more time to get things done after that. And what was the original question about? Because I did want to address that before Kevin sent us on a tangent.
That's what I do.
The original setup was just basically why the fascination with College Game Day and where it's located. I don't get it myself. I don't understand.
To me, it's one of those things where everything about college football fan bases want to win. To me, and our school has more College Game Day. Like it's a status thing. We've got College Game Day this week. That means we're great. It's wanting to win recruiting classes. It's fans looking at spring game attendance. We won spring game attendance championship this year. Your school sucks. Ours doesn't. Look at our ratings. Look. You see, we had the 3 highest rated games last season. Your school sucks. Ours doesn't. Everything is a competition, and this is one more of those things. Ohio State put out a graphic yesterday, like 54 appearances on game day or whatever it is. It's a recruiting tool. It's a competition. It's wanting to beat your rival. It's wanting to beat everybody else. It's wanting to show that you are the you've dominated in something. You've earned something that week. It's just all about a competition, in my opinion. It's a status symbol, and that's the explanation for that, in my opinion.
Well, I know you're at least partially true, if not completely true. But did Ohio State post that number versus the competition? or did it just state 54 appearances?
Well, the confusing thing for me, I think their thing was 54, but ESPN's thing was like 26, like 26 times they've gone to Columbus. So I don't know. I haven't fact checked all of it, but yeah, it's definitely it's in Ohio State's game notes when it's game day. They have like a list of Ohio State has been on game day this many times. Here's the results of every single week. Like and I'm sure they're not alone. And the first time game day goes somewhere, it's game day is here. It's a big thing, and it becomes, but it is also the standard bearer of college football television. And I agree with Kevin. Big Noon Kickoff, when Urban Meyer was there, was a really informative, entertaining show that gave you more substance and was a definite competitor. Him leaving for Jacksonville, I think, hurt Big Noon Kickoff last year, and now they're going to have to restart that and try to build that back up again. But it's still one of these things. It perpetuates itself. Game day, it's a monster, and you can try to compete with it. And Fox is going so far to compete with it. They've created the Big Noon Saturday, their 12 p.m. kickoffs, to kind of help that pregame show, and also then put their premier game at a time when the competition is lesser. So it's a behemoth, and Fox is trying to compete with it. And they're throwing everything they have at it, and it's still like game day is like, but I also think game day is a little worried that they have Lee Corso for how much longer, and how much longer do they have Kirk Herbstreit? I know he's going to be doing some NFL games. At some point, this all becomes too much, and I think he's going to have to choose between doing games and doing game day. And the last thing ESPN wants, I think, is really any change to game day. But the thing has been on for 30 years now, and they've had two major changes, basically, going from Chris Fowler to Reese Davis and going from Craig James to Kirk Herbstreit. And Lee Corso has been the guy the entire time. He's been there, and they add in David Pollack here, Desmond Howard here, and make it a four-man thing. And, I don't know. Kevin, if you would like to share some thoughts on Desmond Howard's, role on that show, Mark, if you would, anybody, I don't really have any opinions one way or the other.
The show has turned into a lot of laughing and backslapping and inside jokes and nonsensical takes. And you know what? It's kind of a tradition to watch it. And I understand, that it's just something that you're used to doing. If Ohio State plays a 3:30 game, I catch a little bit of it before I jump in the car. If they're playing a night game, I certainly watch the whole thing. During Ohio State's open week, I watch the whole thing where I'm flipping between the two shows. But you're right. There have not been a lot of changes. I mean, the cast of characters has gotten larger, but you can only tell so many stories. I mean, obviously the personnel changes, you this kid or that kid, but you do kind of run into a situation where it is kind of a regurgitation of itself. So I think the show has lost some luster. I'd like to think that, some internet sites like, the one that Tony and I work for, take the veil off of some of the stuff. So you already know a lot of these stories weeks and months and years in advance of the time that they're going to be on there. But you know what, not to get into my old television producer role, but you don't do this show for the hardest of hardcore fans. You do it for, there's the 20% that are going to watch regardless. There's the 20% that are never going to watch. And then there's the 60%. And you're really working on trying to get that 60% interested in it and everything else. And, back to the original point. I agree with what Tony says. Everybody's competitive. They want to sit there and have the most game day appearances and have the best concession food and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a matter of pride. And, the truth of the matter is that college football has just become such a great product in terms of the lifestyle of it. We're able to, what is this? Ohio State Live 394. I mean, we've been doing these for a long time here on there. And, thank God that people want to talk about these things. And we've managed to get 15 minutes about game day, college game day.
Which again, doesn't matter. But because I've got to respond to what the viewers want, I may post a video and say, well, but I'm a little bit late on that, so I couldn't predict the first week. It was going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame. It's easy for me to say that now. But yeah, that's a little late for me to produce a video that I think a lot of people would have watched, even though I could care less and I don't understand the fascination in College Game Day. Exceptional show. Kind of agree with Kevin in regards to the way it's gone here in recent years. I would be surprised, or I would be interested to know how many people remember that Craig James was on College Game Day, or care, or that old to remember it. So it's the Kirk Herbstreit topic that you bring up, and in regards to him possibly having to make a decision at some point in the next few years, that could really shake things up a little bit, because I think that he's most associated with the show than anybody else, even more so than if Fowler would have stayed, because former players and analysts seem to have more of an attachment with fans than the host itself. But in most cases,
I think Herbstreit was very smart in learning from what happened to Craig James when Craig James left Game Day to do NFL games on CBS. And Craig James lasted about a year. He took more money, went to the NFL, saw it as a step up, and Kirk Herbstreit has been cashing checks ever since. And the checks just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know how many people have a better job than his in sports. And granted, it's a lot of travel on Saturday when you have to go from what you may be doing game day in Athens and you're calling a USC game in LA that night. But I think he's happy doing it. But at some point, you have all the money you'll ever need, and you would like your time starts to become more valuable, and it becomes more valuable than the money you could make doing a slate of games or Saturdays at Game Day. But I agree, like ESPN would lose so much by losing him on Game Day. It would be better to lose him as an analyst almost than to lose him on Game Day, depending on. I think I agree with my own statement. It would be more devastating to lose him for Game Day, because as you said, like, how many years has he been there now? Has it been 20, 22, 23?
A long time. And I like Herbie. I'm going to throw that out as a preface before I say this next comment. I remember when he was doing his call-in show from coaches on Bethel Road, begging people to call into the show. It was 4 people and a small dog listening. And the meteoric rise, and it's been a lot of hard work, and he's been surrounded by a lot of good people. And now he signs that Amazon deal, and he's going to be even busier with all of that. And, kudos to Herbie. But, we all start somewhere. And I remember him starting on local radio and having a hard time getting, filling that air.
Yeah, no, Kevin's exactly right. Doing local sports radio here in Columbus, doing sidelines for Arena Football League for a time, if I recall, as well. So, like, he has definitely put in his time, and he's been doing this probably since his last season in 1992 or 93 as a Buckeye too. Yeah, 92, because then it was Brett Powers and Bobby Hoying in 93.
Yep.
So, because I got to Columbus in 94, and it wasn't too long after that he was on the radio. So.
Yeah, that makes me feel better about our call-in shows here. We typically have to shut it down after like 3.5 hours. We got too many calls, and I've got a larger collection of small dogs listening, I think, than just the few that he had. So I think we're doing a little bit better. The 4 people, though, I think we're in that range, though. So we're gonna have to push forward. See, Mike 3883. Mike is a faithful viewer. I don't know how old Mike is, but see, I can't relate to this. I could care less what Lee Corso puts on his head at the end of the but I did when I was 20. I watched when I was 20, and I guess I don't know that I cared, but I watched it.
People like Chris Berman stuff too, and all of that, and then you grow up. And I just can't. I mean, I have a visceral reaction when I hear that stuff now. I mean, and he's not been on much, but when he does that occasional Applebee's commercial, I stopped going to Applebee's. Plus, I don't really care for Applebee's, but
Oh, I thought it was going to be the opposite reaction. Okay,
there are a lot
Kevin,
of things I liked in my youth that I don't like now. Headgear picks, drinking Southern Comfort, doing homework. Well, and I guess I never liked doing homework, but you know, you do go through some things, and I think it's just a matter of after the 38th time that he does the old switcheroo. Oh, I'm grabbing this headgear and I'm going to put this one on. I'm just here for when he drops F-bombs on the air.
Well, that's a very good point, Kevin. That is one of the greatest moments in ESPN television history, probably cable sports television history. Sitting there with, I think Carl Lewis was the celebrity picker that week, and that was a good time. And I think I saw that live, but you've seen it so many times it becomes part of. Oh shoot, I was at that game. But I still find myself like in the press box being, hey, who did Corso pick? Just asking. And it's still something I have an interest in knowing. I don't have to ever ask who did Desmond pick. I pretty well know that one before the picks come in. But there is still some. Maybe it's just you grow up with it and it has a special place in your heart, and that sort of thing. It's the Star Wars of college football, basically.